Dan, you're in the southwest of WA to gauge the feeling among farmers about the ridiculous levels of regulation that are imposed on them. Let's just go through a few of the numbers here. West Australian farmers grow 36% of the national wheat crop, yet they face 123 regulatory categories. I might get you to elaborate on that, but that's not the total number of regulations they face. That's just the number of categories under which the regulations are imposed. WA farmers also grow 40% of the national barley crop, but have to deal with 30 different regulatory bodies, both state and federal, which is more than any other farmers in the nation. And WA farmers grow 43% of the national canola crop, but again, face more regulation than farmers in all the other states. I could go on, but Dan, let's just cut to the chase here. How angry are the farmers in the region of southwest WA about all this regulation?
Yeah, Fred, look, there's white hot anger in the farming communities that we visited in Katanning and Katarup and through Augusta with the new regulations that are coming in. And look, one of the key issues here is there hasn't been any proper consultation that's taken place. As you identified, they are the biggest producers in the nation of barley, of wheat, of canola, a major player when it comes to livestock. And of course, they've been hit with a ban on the live sheep exportation here coming out of WA. So they're major producers, yet all of the regulation, red tape that they face, that's going to be pushed on to high cost to consumers. It's going to put upward pressure on prices, inflationary pressures, ultimately flowing through to high interest rates in the context of an economy that's slowing down. So this is the last thing that food producers in this state need. It's the last thing that families and businesses need. Yet the government here in Western Australia has refused to listen up until very recently when they had a bit of a pushback and a delay to the implementation of some of the Aboriginal cultural heritage laws. But look, the red tape keeps growing. And as I say, the costs are being pushed onto the producers that are feeding the nation, feeding the world, earning that critical export revenue. And this is an issue where the communities are very angry, frustrated, and they want answers.
Yeah, let's talk about the communities. We'll get onto the regulations and the economic costs in a minute, but I'm a West Aussie myself. I know that area reasonably well. It's lush in some parts, and in fact, it has some of the most spectacular jarrah and karri forests, which you might have driven through, but farming in the region is far from easy. Rainfall can be both excessive and sporadic in that part of the world. How have the farmers seemed to you, Dan? They're a pretty hardy bunch, aren't they?
Look, they are. I think farmers represent the best of who we are as a nation, self-reliant, resilient, hardworking. They go about their lives in a very humble, dignified fashion. So they're, hardworking people. They feel beset upon and put upon by this. And of course, one of the issues, as you know, Fred, is that they spend their time working. They're out on the farm working hard all day, every day. Yet they're up against these professional campaigning organisations run out of the inner cities that are doing their best to run farmers out of their business and out of their livelihood. So there is an awakening that's taking place in agriculture and farming communities about the need to advocate for their own interests and their own sector so that these city-based bureaucrats, activists and politicians understand how vital this sector is to the state, to the nation and also the entire world.
So what are these regulations, Dan? What are they trying to, what do they do and what are they trying to achieve?
Well, look, the new regulations that are coming in, that are actually in place now, they came in place last Saturday, are basically saying that if you have a property that's 1,100 square metres or more, that you need the permission of various Indigenous bodies in order to undertake any meaningful change to your land. If you're going to, for example, put in a fence post that's more than 50 centimetres deep, that you will need to have the approval of relevant Indigenous elders. And it really has rendered any notion of private property obsolete in Western Australia. Basically, any meaningful activity you want to undertake on your own privately held farmland or pastoral land is going to require the approval of this massive new unelected and unaccountable bureaucratic apparatus. There was no meaningful consultation that had taken place. It wasn't until the PGA, the Pastoral and Graziers Association, undertook a survey and a petition of 30,000 people that was submitted to Parliament in just a couple of weeks that any kind of attention was paid to this issue. So again, the community has been pushing back And the government now appears to be listening and changing a little bit, but unfortunately, I think it's too little, too late.